Well, good afternoon. Welcome to a special called meeting, June 12, 2017, City Hall. This time I would like City Clerk Beth Cecil to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Jay Bellotta, unavailable. Commissioner Larry Conder.
Here.
Mayor Tom Watson.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bob Glenn is unavailable. Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
Here.
This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Larry Conder for the invocation and the pledge, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Pray with me, if you don't mind, or silent meditation, whichever you prefer. Dear God, we thank you especially for the blessings that we have today, gather and do the will of the people of Owensboro. We thank you for the blessings of our food and shelter. And especially please watch after those that don't have it, now that summer is here and the hot weather brings other challenges. Please, as we move forward to do the things for our citizens, that you bless our mind, that we will know your will. Bless our words, that we will speak your will, and you will bless our heart, that we will do your will. All these things we ask in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Now for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. This time we'll ask for the Green River Asset Building Coalition, Keith Sanders, Tina Lynch, to present a presentation on celebrating a community of building. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Keith Sanders, and my office, I work for the Hager Foundation. It's at 401 Frederick Street here in Owensboro. I am particularly appreciative of the opportunity to report very, hopefully succinctly to you about the important work of the Green River Asset Building Coalition and its record and its impact on our community. For the past 13 years, the Green River Asset Building Coalition has functioned as an informal, collaborative endeavor of volunteers, public and private agencies, businesses, and foundations. It's had as its mission to help working low to moderate income families become financially self-sufficient. Now, that mission has important implications for the future of our community. Here's what we know about financially self-sufficient families. Children from those homes are much more likely to be healthy. They're much more likely to succeed in school, and they're much more likely to become well-adjusted, economically productive, participating citizens in the life of their community in the days ahead. So success as a community in helping these families achieve a base level of financial self-sufficiency has important implications for our future. For the past 13 years, this informal coalition of volunteers, its mission's been focused in 3 areas. The first of those is to promote increased awareness and utilization of the Earned Income Tax Credit. The Earned Income Tax Credit, shortened and abbreviated as EITC, is a fully refundable federal tax credit. It's enjoyed strong bipartisan support for the past 40 years because it rewards work and effort. If one's going to raise their income and station in this life, work is one of the first things you've got to do, and then build your skills. So this particular refundable credit is a big ticket item here in Davis County. We have over 9,000 households receive the Earned Income Tax Credit. That translates to about $22 million coming into the community in the first 3 months of the year. Those dollars get turned pretty quickly. But as I said, it's had strong bipartisan support throughout its history. The second thing that our coalition has been doing for the past 13 years is that it has used IRS trained and certified volunteers to provide a free income tax service for working low to moderate income families. And it's saved them a substantial amount of money, and we'll share those numbers in just a minute. The third component of our mission has been to promote and champion policies and practices that help families save money. assets are pivotal to financial well-being for any family. It's not only income, it's the amount of liquidity that's in the household that determines how well it functions going forward. So those are the three components of our mission. We've had terrific success with the first two components of our mission. This coalition is volunteer-driven, almost exclusively, and they're the reason for the remarkable success that we've enjoyed here. So I want to, at this time, introduce a lady who's been a volunteer. If you look in that brochure, that program which we've shared with you, it lists the volunteers, the names of the volunteers that have participated in the life of this coalition. And it lists the number of years they've worked. There's only one person in there that has a 13 beside their name, and it's this lady to my right. Tina Lynch is an AmeriCorps volunteer for us this year. She has served as a lead volunteer trainer to do the training and help these folks get certified. And most of them come back year after year, which is a testament to her. But Tina's record in doing this is exemplary. I'm pleased to announce that here 3 years ago, the IRS invited 5 volunteers from around the country to come to Atlanta to critique the testing materials and the curriculum they used to teach this. And she was one of those people. So that's a reflection on her, but also on the high level of work, the quality of work that our volunteers should do. We want our working families to get every dollar they've got coming, but no more. And our error rate and rejection rate is exceeded by very few coalitions. There's over 300 in the United States. So at this time, I'm going to ask Tina to come up and let her tell you a little bit about how this service works and how it's serving the families in our community.
Okay, so by far the free tax service is where we have the biggest impact in our community. Over the last 13 years, we've filed over 39,000 tax returns for our working members of the community. The median adjusted gross income for this year's tax filers is right at $20,000, with an average refund of $16,000, which is equivalent to nearly a month's income coming back to those households. In 2017, I trained 135 volunteers. That was a combined total of 1,738 hours of training to learn this and get certified in tax law and learn how to use the new computerized software, which we prepare taxes to e-file. This year, we filed 4,579 returns across the 17 tax sites. A new survey from the National Society of Accountants reports the average fee charged to prepare a 1040 with one state tax return is $273. The 2014 study for returns prepared in Kentucky suggested an average of $262 per return. We used a conservative savings of $250 per return, calculating a significant total savings of $1,145,000 for our taxpayers this year. Many of our taxpayers bring in multiple W-2s. Of course, some of them are having trouble holding on to a job, but several of them are working 2 or more jobs simultaneously just to make ends meet. The people we assist are not just working moms and dads. They are service providers working in our grocery stores, restaurants, and auto shops, as well as our maintenance and cleaning agencies. They are educated and employed in our schools, banks, daycares, and medical facilities, as well as our home health care. And some are even entrepreneurs starting their own businesses in our community. Although preparing tax returns is our primary goal, we also have an opportunity for real-life conversation about taking care of bad debt, medical insurance, emergency funds, going to college, home ownership, investments and retirement, and even business startups. This year, our volunteers worked a combined total of 10,786 service hours during our advertised operational hours found in your brochure. This year's level of activity translates into a direct savings of $105 for every volunteer hour served. So I know this is not a traditional way to calculate a volunteer's value, but hear me out. Let's say, for an example, you volunteered 1 service day at OCTC down the street, giving me 6 hours with 9 other volunteers. You guys together prepared 25 tax returns. The 10 of you saved those taxpayers $6,250 in preparation fees alone. That means you personally saved working families in our community $625 today. Most people don't make $625 a day, but today you did. And because of your service hours, that single mother will be able to pay her $200 electric bill. That family of 5 is going to be able to pay the $250 needed to fix their car. That young couple is planning to use $75 to have a well-deserved date night. And those 2 little boys are each going to receive a $50 savings bond in the mail because their dad felt compelled to save some of his savings thanks to you. We do make a difference, but we can do more. Even though over 50% of our household incomes in our area are at or below $40,000 a year, many of them are not aware that they may qualify for earned income credit. Using the Brookings Metro Tax Model microdata for 2016, targeting Owensboro zip codes only, 21% of the EIC eligible households did not claim EIC this year. To get the credit, taxpayers must file a tax return, even if they do not have a filing requirement. We will continue to focus on EIC awareness and getting information out to the community. Over the last 13 years, we have assisted our friends and neighbors in receiving their tax refunds, totaling nearly $51 million, of which $20 million was in EIC. You know, I think you have to agree with me. We've done a pretty good job at getting our services out to those who need us, but there's still some room to grow.
Thank you. I can see your face light up every time something good happens. It's really
There's
cool.
a lot we can do, but
Yeah.
yes.
Could you tell us your address for the record, please?
It is 401 Frederick Street, Suite 203B. We just moved into the Public Life Foundation.
I have a question for either one of you. Not long ago, the Messenger and Inquirer, last week maybe, wrote an article about the opportunity for folks on Medicare, according to their wage limit, had a chance to receive some assistance from the government. Do you all know anything about that? That article was not written by the Messenger. I think it was an AP article, so it didn't really give a lot of facts. Do you all know anything about that? Okay.
The question again was the Medicare recipients were.
If they made less than, I want to say 16K, but I can't remember exactly, that they were eligible for some financial assistance to pay on some of their health insurance.
I think I saw
Did
the
you-
article somewhere, but didn't read it.
I didn't read it. It didn't read very well.
Earned income tax credit, you have to have earned income to get that, so I know that did not pertain to that.
Correct.
But Tina.
You might get up to the mic so the people that,
Tina mentioned something that's pretty significant about the 20% who are income eligible for the EITC that don't claim it. Now, years ago, they were using the number, they were taking, what's the average EITC refund? 20%. You know, if you got 9,000 households now getting it, and there's another, 1,500 households eligible, times 1,600 per household, that's a lot of money that's not coming into the community. The accuracy of that 15 to 20% is really strong. I think that's pretty accurate. Now, we tend to believe that the bigger EITC refunds are being claimed, okay? Some of those EITC refunds are as small as $200 and $300. And hopefully, those that are not filing, that's the amount of money they're missing out on, and not 1,500 or 1,600. But this has been one of the best initiatives our foundation's been a part of in our 26-year history. Our volunteers are the heart and soul of this. If you see in the brochures there, we have tax sites scattered throughout the community. 3 of them are in churches or church-related schools. And the people that come to this work come out of mostly strong faith traditions. And their service is an affirmation, really, to those folks who are working out here, doing work that needs to be done. It may not pay much, but it's very necessary for our overall well-being. We've got to do a better job helping in promoting a an environment of thrift and savings in our community. Nothing will stabilize a family like a base level of liquidity. And if it's not there, it induces a level of stress that manifests itself in really bad things for those families in many cases. So we're very appreciative of the City of Owensboro's support of this, its affirmation of what your communities and its volunteers are trying to do. So we'd be happy to answer any additional questions if you have them.
I just have one more. When you say the median income at 40K, is that salary only? Does it count any rent payments or any stuff?
That's the adjusted gross, so that's going to take out any adjustments, which would be education expenses, deposits into, I'm trying to think of anything that would immediately adjust. So that's the adjusted gross income. What else adjusts my income? Here I teach tax law.
I just thought there were some, if they own the property, let's say, would that be included in the median?
No. That is just their earnings.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anybody else? Mr. Condor?
Comments and questions, I guess. Thank you, Mayor. Looking at the sheet, your little funding results for 2017, just in Davis County alone, you were responsible for $3.8 million brought back into this community.
That's correct.
That's an astounding number.
Thank you.
And your return on that investment is out the roof. I mean, it truly is. And the people that work there, that volunteer, they're a tight group of people. They're all, they have fun that day is what they do.
Oh, absolutely. About 75% this year, it usually runs 80%, but this year about 75% of our volunteers return. Usually, like I said, 80%, but the IRS switched software. And when you take volunteers in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they don't want to learn new software now. It was hard to get them to switch from pencil to electronic. So I lost a few extra this year, but we get about 25 to 30% new volunteers each year, and at least this year we did. And we're running around 140 volunteers a year.
Thank you.
If I could put just a little context about how successful these volunteers are. Our coalition is doing 4,500 to 5,000 tax returns a year. Louisville has an asset building coalition. They're producing 12,000 tax returns a year. Cincinnati, 17 to 18,000. So on a per capita basis, we get a lot done here in this part of Kentucky. And that's no surprise to all of you here today, obviously, because we work together pretty well.
Commissioner Smith-Wright, do you have anything?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We
Appreciate
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you all. Good luck.
Okay. Item 4B, All-American 4th of July update. Mr. Ross. Is that correct? Yes.
Thanks, Mayor, Commission. Tim Ross, Director of Public Events. Busy community that we've got going on. As most people were aware, this last weekend, tremendous number of events that were taking place with high school softball and conventions and different meetings that we're in, and the next few weeks aren't going to be any different. So I just wanted to give the community an update with some of the things coming up over these next few weeks leading up to the July 4 holiday. June 23, 24, 25 weekend has a lot of things going on in town. One of those, annually, the Botanical Gardens hosts their Dazzling Daylilies and then their hot air balloon event out there. They've got multiple days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so they've got flights that you can purchase to go take flight, which is really a unique opportunity if you've never had the chance to do it, in hot air balloons. And they do a balloon glow. They've got their flower sales. It's a good event, and they wanted to coincide that with Romp and working with the bluegrass folks out there, and they decided to coordinate those on the same weekend. As we mentioned, Romp is that weekend. Tremendous number of bands that come into town. Hotels that weekend have been sold out for quite some time here in the community, but a big festival that'll be taking place in addition to a couple of big conventions that are in town that weekend. So restaurants will be busy, hotels will be busy that June 23, 24, 25 time frame. Regular programming that we've got all throughout the warm months of the year from May through September. Bluegrass on the Banks happens a couple times a month, and then that week leading up to Romp, we do it a couple of additional days because of some groups that are in town and the visitors that are coming in for Romp that get here earlier in the week. We do it on Monday and Tuesday that week as well. The cruise-in happens first Saturday of every month. You can come downtown and look at all kinds of different street rods and hot rods that are out there, and there's a few hundred of them And they keep the restaurants busy and the streets busy down there with visitors coming from around the region. Live on the Banks, presented by Alaris this year. Every Saturday night we've got live music that's down there. That's a great ambience for our visitors that come, just like Friday after 5. Keeps that riverfront slamming on Friday nights. Live on the Banks helps program that and add some energy every Saturday night throughout those warm months through the end of September. And then July 4, it sounds weird to say, but July 4 is just around the corner. It's only a few weeks away. And this year we're going to be celebrating and recognizing our bicentennial as part of our July 4 activities. It is back on July 4th itself. We've had that question from quite a few folks because last year, being on a Monday, we decided to shift that and do it over the weekend. But traditionally, the city of Owensboro always recognizes it on July 4th itself. So that will be Tuesday, July 4 is our All-American 4th of July celebration. And that involves several different things. We set up a couple of stages down along the riverfront. There's one at the patio at River Park Center, and there's one there at McConnell Plaza by the Hampton Inn. And they both have live music that starts around 5 o'clock and continues all the way through the fireworks itself. There's several vendors up and down the street, and there on the bottom of there it shows the Fourth Fest logo. That's an event that happens in the convention center. They've been doing that for several years. That's presented by Kentucky Legend, and it becomes a big family playland with free kids activities inside the exhibit hall. Their activities start at 4 o'clock, and they've got everything from inflatable games to Trunnell's Market's got activities out there, to mechanical bulls, to traditional carnival games, to food vendors. Obviously the food has a little cost to it, but all the activities are free for kids and family. And they bring thousands and thousands of kids through there each July 4. So if you want to experience a lot of noise and kids having a good time, go inside that exhibit hall. The other thing we're doing as part of that bicentennial recognition is we've got a birthday bash that we're going to do, and that's going to be at 6:30, and that'll be inside the exhibit hall. We'll have a big bicentennial birthday cake there, and another mayor and commission will be there for that to do a cake cutting. And we've got 1,000 cupcakes that we're going to give away for free to folks that are in there as part of that birthday celebration at 6:30 that evening. As the slide notates, there's also some reserved seating. So for businesses, there's still some. They've sold quite a few of them, but for folks or businesses that want to reserve a spot, not have to worry and come and bring their lawn chair out there too early, they can go online with the convention center and buy some tickets to get some reserved seating locations there on the pier or on the terrace to be able to watch the fireworks that evening. And those fireworks take place at 9:15. Veterans Boulevard, here's just a quick kind of overview map. There's lots of surface parking lots and parking garages that are available downtown. And we will close Veterans Boulevard about 2 o'clock that afternoon to start getting some of those vendors in place for the activities and music the rest of the evening. You'll see the 2 stages there, then the barge on the river, and the fireworks start right about 9:15. And once the fireworks are done, we've got music that goes till about 10 o'clock, and we wrap it up and call it another year for July 4. So we just wanted to give everybody a time frame on that and some of the activities that are coming up over the next few weeks.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Yes.
Will that's this picture here be in the paper, or would the people have to go to the website to get it, or?
Typically the website to do it.
The
Sometimes
website?
the M&I, they always do a couple of stories about it, and sometimes they throw that image, but the website's got it on there.
And secondarily, what can you do to make it more accessible so that older folks and people with walking disabilities can get to that car show? I went down there Saturday and I had to park here at City Hall to get down there. What's the secret to get down there? You have to get there at 3 o'clock and take a cab back home?
No, the easiest way to do it is to use Davis Street parking garage would be the closest.
Was it open?
Yeah,
that street was open?
It is. We always leave Davis Street open and Veterans Boulevard stays open. So there's accessible parking. There's several different blocks of sections of accessible parking on Veterans Boulevard. And then the Davis Street parking garage has got accessible parking in there. So we leave Davis open, and then down at Frederica on the other end is open as well. But 2nd Street right through the middle of town there is what's blocked off. So parking will be on 3rd or on Davis Street Garage.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Questions, comments?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5 is begin our business section of it. This time I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 6, 2017. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item number 6, ordinance, a second reading. There will be a vote. Mr. Ray.
This first is Ordinance 14-2017. An ordinance annexing to the city of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the county of Davies adjoining the present boundary line of the city being properly located at 2900 Kentucky Highway 54, Gateway Commons Development. Tract 4, 10.191 acres, more or less. Publicly read for approval on second reading, June 12th, 2017.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve. I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Parrish?
Thank you, Mayor. This is an annexation on the east side. It's part of the Gateway Commons TIF. There was an original annexation in August of 2015 of a little over 190 acres. In May of 16, additional 7 acres were annexed. This is an annexation for 10.19 acres. It's included in the TIF annexation incentive, where new tax revenues are saved and go towards the cost of public infrastructure, building roads, street lights, utilities, sewer functions. Those incentives are paid for by TIF funds. There are no new or no old general fund dollars used for this project.
Why wasn't this included at the beginning?
They annex generally, Mayor, in portions. Part of it's because they acquire new parts of the property, but the other is they annex it in portions so that when they turn the annexation on, yes, that's right, Mayor, so that they don't start this before they get actual TIF revenues coming in, tax revenues coming in.
Any comments from the commission? How about the public? Any comment from the public out there? Hearing none, we will have a roll call vote. Yes, roll call vote.
Mayor Watson?
Present, yes,
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Condor?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 6B, Mr. Ray.
Ordinance 15-2017, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016 and ending June 30th, 2017, and amending Ordinance 13-2016 to fund the budget contingency, retirement contingencies in the fire and personnel departments, and various division operations in the recreational fund. Publicly read for approval on second reading, June 12th, 2017.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes, Mayor. There are 4 parts to this budget amendment. The first is 17-34, and it concerns the general fund in 3 separate areas. The first is a budget contingency. Each year, the city overwrites the budget by some $500,000 because we know at the end of the year we will gain back funds that were not spent to fund that contingency. It's the Commission's way to keep the staff honest in terms of the amount of funds used. At the end of the year, those funds are collected back up and applied towards that contingency. 63% of those savings were from personnel cost, $312,000, were unused staffing, hiring new employees at a lower rate, or a lower health care cost. For example, an employee leaving the city who has full family coverage, we may hire someone who doesn't have anything but single coverage. 5% were savings in the VoIP phone system. We went from traditional landlines to the phone company to internet lines. We've saved an additional $25,000 this year because of that. Fuel costs are down by $18,000. That represents 4% of the savings. And $13,000 is in unused travel and training funds, representing 3%. The remaining 25% are in miscellaneous cost. The second area of this 17-34 budget amendment is in general fund retirement contingency. Each year we anticipate a certain number of retirements. We bundle those all together and take about 80% of the expected cost of having to pay out unused vacation or sick time. We pay back 1/2 of unused sick time. What this does is draw down those bundled savings to support large decreases in retirements in fire and personnel department, totaling up to $201,000. The third and final area is the general fund supporting the rec fund. That fund is not self-supporting. We subsidize, for example, golf courses, pools, the Edge, tennis, softball, and the sports center. Their shortfall this year is $48,800. That includes a retirement payout of some $22,000. The entire shortfall is made up in saved personnel costs across the general fund. So this portion of the budget amendment is your authorization to transfer those funds to cover the budget contingency, the departmental retirement contingency, and shortfalls in the rec fund. The next area is 17-35 concerning a Homeland Security grant. OPD has received a grant of $23,760. This allows the purchase of 15 bulletproof vests, 15 tasers, and 30 taser cartridges. It's your authorization to receive and spend those funds of $23,760 in the federal grant. 17-36 includes the Transit Fund. As you know, the Transit Fund is heavily dependent on federal funds to operate each year. Those funds are not decided until October, the beginning of the federal fiscal year. We have to write our budget in April. Our best guess estimate was short by $115,000, what the feds would give us this year. We need an additional $85,000 in parts to keep our buses running. Therefore, a need to find additional $200,000. We're not requesting additional funds, but this is your authorization to use $200,000 in lower fuel costs in the Transit Department to cover this shortfall. And finally, 17-37, this budget amendment recognizes the $48,800 in transfers from the general fund to the rec fund that we just spoke about in 1734 to cover the shortfalls in that fund.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any comments from the commission?
Yes, Mayor.
Conder?
If we could forecast, the $500,000 contingency fund, this has been done over an extended period of time, and again, this is brand new coming in, seeing this, but we've done this, I assume, over a long period. So what happens at the end of fiscal year at the end of June, and the $500,000 that is contingent there is not all used? Does that come back into the general fund, or what occurs with that, please?
Thank you. Commissioner, what will happen is that $500,000 is directly allocated to source that line number in the budget that says we have $500,000 we have to make up. Anything above and beyond that we do better than the budget expects, that returns to the general fund reserve. The commission can decide to keep it in the general fund reserve. It can reallocate those funds, or it can use it to grow the reserve. We won't know that until about August, by the time all the bills come due, but we should be able to report back in August based off revenues for the year and expenditures for the year, how we ended up.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Right. Mr. Parrish, when you do such a fine job of explaining that, is there in our book today, there's just the big pages. Is there a way to get that kind of synopsis put in our book so we can follow along with those of us that have trouble screwing around with this budget junk? So we can kind of follow along with you, because you explain it so well, and by the time you listen to that and go over this page, you're already on the next page before I get to it. So it would help me. I don't know if the rest of the commission would care, but it would certainly help me to have that, I don't know which one, brief or summary of exactly what's going on.
We'll do, Mayor.
And I assume this has nothing to do with that closed pensions thing that we're so far behind. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. Back to any other comment from the public? Is this a roll call? Ms. Cecil, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Commissioner Conder?
Yes.
Mayor Watson?
Yes, thank you. Okay. I guess it's city manager items, item 7.
Yes, Mayor. I'm asking that the commission consider the following personnel appointment this afternoon. Sarah Harris, probationary full-time, non-civil service promotional appointment to accountant effective June the 12th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any comment? Hearing none, all in favor indicate, no roll call, right? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B, please.
Yes, Mayor, since this special call meeting is in effect a work session and a commission meeting rolled into one, we've included as the last section of your book the city project list. If the commission has any questions, the staff is ready to answer those questions.
I have a question about the International Bluegrass Music Center. How far along are we on that project? And do we have I know I got something early on about a business plan and projections. Any of that done at this point in time, please? Mr. Ray?
Mayor, on your first question, as far as percentage done, we're about 25% complete. As far as the business plan you have is what has been submitted.
Okay, thank you. I have been talking to federal officials and state officials about the Blue Bridge lighting, so could you give us an update on that a little bit, please, Mr. Ray, as to when we're free to do that and all that kind of stuff?
Sure, Mayor. Our application has been submitted to the Department of Transportation, and it is on a holding pattern in Frankfurt. We're just waiting for the green light from Frankfurt.
Okay, because I was down on the Smothers Saturday night, and every other person asked me, when are you going to get the bridge lit, you know? And I said, well, if all of y'all take a candle over, we'll have it lit tonight. But it's in Frankfurt's hands now, and that is in the Department of Transportation.
Mayor, it was submitted through the Madisonville Transportation Office as requested. It's been there several months, and I know that we have an appointment up there with the Department of Local Government later this month. Among the places I'd like to put on the agenda to visit is transportation and find out from them, do they have an opinion on it? Now that the litigation has been settled, the appeal times have been, exhausted. I don't see that there should be any hesitation in moving forward with that, but again, that's up to the administration in Frankfurt.
And your estimate cost is around $1 million, is that what your last thing I heard from you, maybe?
Well, $650,000 is what the plan was on an LED system that could be programmable LED system. $1 million would include a 10-year maintenance, the 10-year maintenance on it, which is estimated to be, somewhere around $50,000 a year that the state would require us to do on the lighting system, including an physical hands-on inspection of every light throughout the year.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Condon?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Ray, if you could, please. I noticed in our list of items, the 2 tips, the bottom sentence of activation date has not been set. And I assume that's up to the commission in order to begin that or to activate those. What will prompt when that happens? Because I assume that that's very critical of when you start the TIF itself for the revenue streams are coming in to be then reimbursed back through the TIF to the developers or anyone else. So where does it look like we're going to be activating these things as of today?
Mr. Ray?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Welcome.
Both TIFs are different animals, certainly. My recommendation for 54 is that the TIF not be activated until at least their phase 1 buildings start actually receiving their first customers. So in essence, what we want to do is take advantage of a 20-year period in which sales tax and state income tax is at its peak. To do that, there is revenue right now that could be gained. However, over that 20-year period, it wouldn't be at the right part of the bell curve as far as when that peaks out. As far as downtown goes, I see downtown activating much sooner than 54, primarily in that we have an active workforce down there, and my recommendation to the commission is when Alorica has met its 500 plus job level, that we should look closely at activating the TIF. Of course, the state money is the sales tax revenue generated, and we'll have to look at new business licenses downtown. Where do we have additional sales tax revenue being generated, such as Bar Louie when that business opens, some of the other potential retail operations that'll happen downtown. So all of those things are important. Again, when you look at that 20-year curve, certainly when the hotel opens up, when the Bluegrass Museum, retail and restaurant open up, when the building at Enclave has its first residence and 2 restaurants, those are all going to be trigger mechanisms for the sales tax and the occupational tax, as well as the income tax. And certainly the finishing of the parking garage, the new improvements, which exceed $11 million at the BB&T building for Alorica, and then anywhere from $16 to $20 million at the Enclave building. Property tax certainly will have a base there that makes sense to activate. So I could see activation within the next 12 months for downtown, probably in the next 36 months for Gateway Commons, which will be good for everybody. When we look at downtown, is where the city's infrastructure investment is actually taking place on a dollar-to-dollar basis. There's no city infrastructure investment out on 54, so that's really going to be dependent on the developer. But that's when also all the ratepayers out there that have RWRA services will see their investment in the west side treatment plant or the east side treatment plant, those improvements being reimbursed. So long answer to a short question.
Well, and it's an important answer. You know, the bridge lighting, everything else is within the scope of what could be financed when the TIF is activated at that time. So it is critical to answer some of the questions we continue to be asked, bridge lighting or whatever the case may be, of when the TIF starts. That's when you look at the other projects that we have on the. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and on the bridge light, if I may, Mayor and Commission, is just to add one more thing, and that is, you know, we do have the funds to do the design work and get into the procurement process. We're ready to move fairly quickly on the bridge lighting to get to the point of pulling the trigger to actually investing in the system. And that takes time. It takes engineering work. The system that's on the bridge right now has to come down. So there's several months, if not a half a year worth of work to do on that before we even are able to procure the lighting of the bridge. So the sooner that we can get that support, get the paperwork passed through in Frankfurt, we're ready to do some of the work now.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ray, we're very fortunate to have your knowledge of these things because they're confusing, and I noticed you didn't even have a note in front of you, so thanks for staying on top of that. It's impressive.
Thanks, sir.
Commissioner Smith-Wright?
As far as the bridge lighting, you know, there are a lot of groups that I've talked with and some individuals who are willing to raise money if we need that. You know, if we could have their name somewhere that this organization donated X amount of dollars toward the bridge. And people have talked to me about that because they think it's about money, and there are a lot of people in this community that are willing to raise money or donate money or whatever toward the lighting of that bridge.
Yeah, I'd even made a off-the-cuff suggestion that we put a box in our tax bills that go out and ask them if they'd like to check the box and pay an extra math about how many residents we have and how many tax bills go out, and divided that up until we could, you know, but I don't know if that's physically possible with all the other work we ask finance to do. But you know, it's you know, I'm like you, Commissioner, that you know there's been several people that have wanted to participate in it, and I don't see any reason why we can't have them participate, because that could be the Citizens Bridge contribution. So just a thought as we move forward. Okay, anything else on the do we need a update on Caves Tower or no?
I certainly can give one, Mayor.
Well, it sure helped me because I keep saying I don't go right ahead, Mr. Wright.
Well, since the last update, the most significant change to circumstances is that the foreclosure action has been settled. So the owners have paid the city of Owensboro the tax dollars owed, and they've settled the lien from Environmental Demolition Group. So at this point in time, there's no litigation pending on Gabe's Tower, and we'll continue to look at the triplet twist program and advise the commission to seek further guidance on the next steps.
Okay. Okay, project list is over. 7C, city manager comments, sir?
The only comment today, Mayor, is the staff would like to thank Commissioner Condor for providing lunch at no cost to the city today. A very worthy cause. It's being sponsored by the Riverport.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Condor. Although I did not participate, I would like to participate later on, hopefully. I don't need any cookies, thanks. All right, communication from elected officials, and at this time I will make an announcement that the June 20 and July 4 commission meetings are canceled. So I'll start with you, Commissioner Smith-Wright.
Mayor, I don't have anything this time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Condor.
Just a quick comment, Mayor, about the high school softball tournament this weekend. Went out Thursday evening, watched Catholic High play. And George Randolph, an old friend. If there's not a more competitive coach out there in this area, except for the one sitting over here to my right, George is one of them. Great man. He announced his retirement, I believe, this weekend in his last game. An asset. I guess coaches don't really retire. They just move to different positions from what I hear. So it was great time out there. Girls did a great job. Everybody, the Parks Department, fantastic job. Looking at some other things to improve it out there. But Amanda, great job. Thank you.
Yes, my granddaughter plays softball, and last 2 or 3 years, Davis County's been at the tournament, and I was driving home from a meeting in Louisville on Saturday morning and got blow by blow, and from all accounts, I talked to the officials out there from the KHSAA, and they're extremely pleased with the service and the attentiveness of Ms. Rogers and her band of Merry 50. I never saw them any green shirts with staff on them, but I didn't know we had that many. But they did a wonderful job, and I think did you tell me that we were had it again next year? Is that correct? Okay, so maybe we'll have another representative from Owensboro. It does help the gate a little bit, I think. Okay, at this time, open public forum. You got anything, Steve? No? Okay. I don't guess I need to read all that. Shanley, you got anything? Okay, so this time, my last thing I would say is, if we had, and I probably missed the email, but having this at 12 noon does cut down our representation from the community, and I know it was a combined meeting, but I would suggest if we have to combine them, possibly we look at doing it in the evening so that the rest of the citizens can have an opportunity to be here, because obviously they can't at noon. So I'll just throw that out for discussion. This time I'll make a motion to adjourn. Could I have a second, please?
So moved.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you all.